Before we get into this video, I want to just take a brief moment to tell you guys I have built my first set of LUTs packs. It's a very small pack, but these are something that I've been working on for quite a while. The first pack I've ever put together, it's for designed specifically for the two newest Blackmagic cameras, the Pocket 6K and the Pocket 4K, as well as the Canon C200. And what these LUTs do is they emulate the look of both of red wide RGB gamma as well as Ari's log C. So if you're interested in having these LUTs, make sure to follow the link in the video and also check them out. It's really affordable, and any sort of help that you guys can help contribute to continue building this platform, I greatly appreciate it. But enough of that, on to the video. Now let's talk about Sony. We all have been waiting for the A7S. I actually got a comment from somebody on another camera, mainly discussing about, it was like around the R5, but he asked, he's like, what do you think about the cameras that you're using? I'm looking at getting the A7S III when it comes out, and I wanted to tell that commenter, but also that I don't think it's coming anymore. I don't think the A7S III is coming, A7 IV, whatever they want to call it. I don't think it's coming. I don't think it's coming. And it has nothing to do with what they said, which was, we're focusing on putting those technologies into the PlayStation. No, that's not it. Here's why I say the A7S is no longer coming. And at the end of the day, it's pretty much there's no home for it anymore. There's no place for it in the market. Now, you may be sitting here going, wait, what? What are you talking about, James? There's a huge demand for the A7S III. Why? How can you say there's not a place for it? Listen to me. What's the thing that makes the A7S the A7S? It's about sensitivity, particularly light sensitivity, particularly the fact that how amazing the blacks are so clean and how it's like an amazing beast in low light. That is the thing that the A7S is known for. But that's when you have to look at the logistics as well as what basic physics. And basically, one of the things that made the A7S so special was, one, it was a full frame sensor, but two, it had a very low megapixel count, 12 megapixels. And because of that, it created amazing low light capabilities, because every photo site was bigger than most cameras' photo sites in their pixels, because you had to put more pixels into these sensors that have larger megapixel counts. So it introduces more noise. Whereas the A7S, it allows you to be able to just push it, especially with the processors that Sony has been putting in it. The problem is nobody wants a 12 megapixel sensor anymore. You go online. It's like they want it to be like a 20 megapixel sensor or a 24 megapixel sensor. But as everybody's like talking about, it's like it needs to be or they wanted to do 4K, or they wanted to do 6K or 8K, because now, like, there was rumors. Remember those rumors? They were saying it's going to do 8K. Look, and which means it can't have that low megapixel count anymore. Everybody's looking for higher resolution so they can be able to help deliver 4K and have higher quality 4K for their deliveries. Because of that, Sony can't, the low megapixel count that it would need to keep what made the A7S special, it's not going to be a friendly. Like, what if if Sony came out and basically said, we bump it up to like 16 or even 18 megapixels. Not many people are not going to be excited about that. Even though it would give it much cleaner details, it would probably still produce better low light, but not so much noticeable difference from something like an A7 III. And then people are going to be like, why didn't you just make it 24 megapixels? I wish they would just make it a 24 megapixels. But people, if they did that, if they made the A7S III 24 megapixels, which everybody considers like the normal, it would give it its 6K resolution that it would need. Then it's not an A7S III or an A7S line. It's an A7. It's like, why would Sony? That's my thing. I think the A7 III really sort of because of how successful it was. It's I think Sony took a page and like, why are we? No, people clearly don't want the low megapixels that the A7S was. They want higher megapixels, and because of that, if they put a 24 megapixel sensor in the A7S, then pretty much it's just the A7 III. So why would Sony make two cameras that have the same sensor size, with roughly the same features? It doesn't make sense, and it's from a business standpoint, it doesn't make sense. So I think what's going to happen is the A7 III is going to be the one that's going to deliver 6K resolution video recording, and then something like the A7R. Well, maybe not the A7R because now it's gone into some insane territory of like 90 plus megapixels. It's like it just keeps trying to raise the megapixel count. But maybe something like the A9 or something along the A9 line will probably get that 40 like 39 to 45 megapixel range that is needed to do 8K video on a 2/3 sensor. Or maybe even the A7R5. Maybe they'll drop the megapixel count and allow it to do 8K video. I'm just saying the A7R will be better suited to deliver 8K video, and the A7 would be much better suited to do 6K video, which means this A7S will only be able to do 4K video if it was to be what it was always intended to be, which is a low light sensitivity beast. Otherwise, you're kind of crossing into these other territories that they could probably put the technology into those other lineups. So I think Sony just realized, no, nobody wants low megapixel counts anymore, and at that point, then the A7S is not the A7S. I could be wrong. I hope I am wrong because I would love to see an A7S. I don't know if I would actually ever get one, but it would be nice to see, it would be nice to see what they would do with it. But it is kind of limiting because you have to, again, you need low megapixel count to keep the low light capabilities that made the A7S so special. But if you keep the megapixel count low, you can't offer things like 6K and 8K resolution that now a lot of its competitors are now offering. Blackmagic, Panasonic, Sharp, Zcam, Canon. Canon is now offering an 8K camera. So I just don't think it's coming. I think they saw the writing on the wall and they scrapped it. I just think they scrapped it, and they're going to focus pushing all these other technologies in the A7 III lineup and the A7R lineup, and then maybe even the A9 as well. I just don't see them putting out an A7S. I think the line has come to an end.